Welcome to Johnny's Car Care and Review. So I'm Johnny, as always. I haven't changed. That's not going to change. Now this is Marie, sometimes known as Maddie and Maddie, because whether it's Google or Amazon, if I speak to text, it never gets it right. So we're here tonight. Like the thumbnail shows you, it says, this saved Ford. So that's what we're going to be talking about. What saved Ford? And then, of course, we'll get to the news. A lot of people are probably waiting to hear about the Ford Maverick. So we'll be talking about Ford Maverick recalls. Well, really one lawsuit based off of a recall. And we'll also be talking about a recent recall from a week ago. So we'll be talking about airbags. Is this a big deal? Well, we'll find out. And we'll also be talking about those fires in Mavericks. Is that a big deal? Because there's a lawsuit that is being created off of this. And we'll really talk about the real deal behind that. Now, I look forward to getting into all of this. And of course, I'm not going to skip over the fact that the thumbnail has a green, eruption green Bronco on it. And it's a hardtop. And it is a wild track. So I've got notes for that of course I left downstairs. So while I get this show going, we'll actually have maybe Marie head downstairs and get my phone, because I take all my notes on one of my phones. So Marie's gone to take care of that. Thank you so much for being here for the live. I'm going to try to have every Friday when possible a live. We end with a bit of Q&A. So the format's about 30 minutes of show, 10-15 minutes of Q&A, making sure that everyone is hunky-dory, everyone knows the real deal. And this really is going to be an episode with a lot of don't be fooled, because that lawsuit, there's some don't be fooled behind that. You're even allowed to ask questions about recent videos. I did do a Dodge video. Not very many people, I guess, want to hear my thoughts on a Dodge EV, but let's just get right started now that Marie, being the incredible partner in crime that she is, has brought me my notes. So before we get to what saved Ford, I always make the Bronco people wait to the end. And that's not fair, you know? That's like Winston waiting for salmon this summer, this evening. I don't make him wait to the end of the meal. He gets the salmon throughout. So let's get straight to the meat and bones. A lot of people want to know about this. What's this eruption green wild track? What's the story? How long did it take and what does this mean? So I should be able to run this through in about 3 to 5 minutes. Then we'll jump in on all the other goodies, what saved Ford, and then we'll get right to the Maverick news at the end with a Q&A. So let's jump to it. So the green wild track, hardtop Bronco. First of all, the story is that color is amazing and it does not look, in real life, it's not at all like the website. There are certain colors that you can stick with the website, know what the real deal is. To know the real deal on eruption green, you need to see it in person. So find a way, because it's incredible. It does have a little bit of the metallic in it, is kind of bronze. So when the sun hits it, it bronzes it a bit. So until you've seen it, you don't know whether it's nice, just like antimatter. It's dark, very dark blue when the sun hits it, but otherwise it's black on a cloudy day or in the evening. So this green wild track, what's going on here? Well, that was ordered March 12th. Now you're probably thinking of what, 2021? No, it was ordered March 12th of 2022. So that's big news, and I'll explain more after telling a bit more of the story behind this Bronco, because it's interesting. At least I'm obsessed, so obviously it's interesting to me. Now, it was in Montreal, the last rail yard, for only 3 days. So huge improvements there. Previously, we're hoping 2 to 3 weeks, and it could turn out to be as long as 5, almost breaking on to 8 weeks at the rail yard. So the whole story, so that's great news. That's a big news. So a lot of rail issues are really starting to get resolved. Now, not every single one will only be at the rail yard for a few days, but it does mean that things are going a lot better at the rail yard. So here's its full story. It was sent to the plant July 27th. So that means it started being basically worked on, built July 27th of this March 12th order. Then it was produced August 4th. So that means you've got about 8 days. July has 31 days, I guess, from recollection. 31 days in July. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. So 8 days, yeah. 8 days for it to be declared produced. Now, it was released August 5th. So that's produced, done, ready to go, and well, it's basically going. It's in the beginning process of, you could say, moving. But it was at the Michigan Woodhaven. It was received the 11th of August in Michigan Woodhaven. Then August 12th, shipped from Woodhaven in Michigan, that Ramp 44, to Montreal. It showed up in Montreal 4 days later on the 16th. And then at dealer, the 19th. So, and it's only same day transport. So that means 3 days for it to arrive at the final rail yard, get unpacked from its container, and move along. So that's really fantastic news. The ETAs, basically, if you track your vehicle and you're obsessed, you're vehicle obsessed like well, me, good news is you can actually, now the more often than not, I think we're going to start seeing ETAs that are realistic. And we'll be talking about ETAs on Mavericks, because I know a lot of you out there have been pushed, and I know why you've been pushed, and I will talk about that when we get to the Maverick news, but almost all of you will have been pushed for the same reason. We'll get to that in just a moment. So really cool, really great news. Now, what's going on? A Bronco, that's a hard top, and it's a 2.7, and it's a wild track. So this has a few constraints on it. Now, if you want the full photos of this, go to Instagram, because after this show, either this evening or tomorrow, I'll put to Instagram, Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. We're on Instagram. I made the leap. I made the jump. Marie encouraged me. And I'll be adding photos there that really do complete these shows. Now, in the lives, I don't like to play around trying to throw in photos during a live, because I don't want to mess with this and close out the live, because that would be my style. Accidentally pressing the wrong thing, these thumbs go all over the place, and just shut the whole show down before even really getting to say anything. It's happened before. So she knows how I am with technology. It must be by accident I keep sending you different vehicles and saying, hey, is this nice? Would you like this? That must be by accident. It must be a technological error.
Yeah, you think it's by accident?
It's not because I'm
not sure about this one.
I'm not car obsessed. So, okay, back to the Bronco story to wrap it up, because I said 3 to 5 minutes for the Bronco story. Now the Bronco story. Okay, so this really shows that where you order from is so important. These days, I'm not going to be shopping around trying to figure out who will sell me under MSRP. I want to shop around and get MSRP, so watch my 10 steps video to find out how you can guarantee your price, how you can really set everything up to be in a good, safe position, so you don't wait, let's say, 8 months, and then your ordered vehicle comes in and you get announced you're getting a real good deal. And the real good deal is that they're only increasing the price based on the current internet price by 5 or 10,000, because hey, it can be sold as a used vehicle for 15 or 20. So great deal, right? No, that's not a great deal. If you wait, in my opinion, you should get the internet price. So this Bronco, how did it show up? Well, the way that it showed up is, yes, this has a few constraints on it. Of course, it doesn't have paint protection, because that is a big no-no, but it has the 2.7 liter, which you should try to avoid. It has the hard top, which, the proportion of hard tops that they're building now, they can build in the low 60 percentile. Just in August now, it's been cut back down to 61%, but that's been a huge increase. And Wild Track, I don't have the exact numbers, but I think that's around in the 30 percentile. I'll have to talk about that in an upcoming video, talking about those percentages. But really, usually the main problem is when you add a whole lot of constraints together. But where you order from is huge, because I'd be shopping the dealer, asking, if I order with you, where am I on your list? What number am I? If they have no idea what you're talking about, or they say we don't keep an eye on that, that's right away. That's one red flag. Another red flag is if they don't know what COVP is, Customer Order Verification Process, which is a whole process. Basically, the dealership some dealerships will take on the extra, maybe 20, 30 minutes of paperwork and hassle to get everything signed so that they can prove to Ford that you're a real client that saw the price. And of course, if it's a pre-order on a Bronco, you can't depend on that 2022 price, but you can get them to sign promising that they will sell it to you on Internet 2023 promotions, meaning the interest rate and the MSRP price. So shop your dealership. And red flag one, they have no idea what red flag two, if they have no idea what COVP is, save yourself, because how it works at Ford is basically Ford is kind of, you could say, putting orders into two different bins. You've got your bin of verified, guaranteed, real clients, which the dealership, it's a very big deal and bad if the dealership loses a certain percentage in that category, because they're basically promising Ford that they're going to deliver you a vehicle, meaning no games. When it shows up, they can't risk adding on an extra, 10,000 and losing you as a client. 'Cause if they lose too many clients, well, they won't get assigned vehicles for a month, and that can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and will just delay everyone at that dealership by a month for the first time they get caught. So, problems add up. So make sure that you order from the right dealership. And if you don't want to order from a dealership, here's the best example. If you're at a dealership that originally was advertising rebates on Broncos if you ordered with them, well, what happened? They would have gotten orders from all across the country, meaning they have way more orders than allotments. So that's what you need to ask them. Where am I on your list? And then how many allotments do you get per year? If they go, oh, we have no idea, well, how many allotments have you been getting per month? And if they still have no idea, we'll ask them, how many allotments do you think you'll be getting in the next few months? And if they're still lost, well, shop your dealership. They are lost. If they're lost, what do you think is going to happen with your Bronco order? It's getting lost. And if you don't COVP, it's getting lost too, because two bins. We're promising you this is a real client. Here's all the proof, a signed offer, a signed webdo, driver's license, matching the name to the driver's license, to the address, a deposit, the whole works. And I'm suspecting, at least in my region, you're also signing a sheet in advance saying you're not going to export that vehicle. Basically, that you're not going to resell it in the first 6 months, and 15,000 kilometers, which is 10,000 miles. Maybe I'm off by a few miles, but generally 10,000 miles. Yep. Because, if you think about it, if a dealership's going to get 60 Broncos in the year, doesn't take that big of a business to buy out all 60 Broncos if Ford doesn't work on this. So this is a great thing that Ford is doing, and I applaud them. I've said it before. I think they should win an award for, best decision made in the automobile industry this year. So, because it is fantastic, because what happens is in regards to this is Ford's blocking out someone coming along who's got big pockets and wants even bigger pockets to say, I'm going to buy your 60 Broncos. And I'm going to buy your 65 or 70 Lightnings. Basically buy out the whole year as soon as the order banks open to new orders. And then what happens? Well, they're going to take them and they're going to sell them, if you're lucky in your region. If you're unlucky, they're going to find out what region has the most money. So they're going to send these off to LA, where people just have, crazy, stupid money. And, every guy or gal that feels they need a Bronco, well, I'm going to admit it, the Bronco makes me feel like a pretty big deal. So I can understand people in LA, if they've got big money, well, what's an extra 50,000 or 100,000 on a Lightning? So if you're lucky, they get sold in your region for an extra $50,000. If you're really lucky, they go across the country and they sell for, whatever they can sell for. Maybe on the Lightning, an extra 100,000. So that's what's going on with the Bronco. This one showed up at this dealer because, well, this dealer doesn't have a huge waiting list. And they're, dealers, these are being built by order date, but not globally. From what I'm at least seeing and what I understand is that these are getting built by date regionally. And if you're in a region, and especially a dealer, because their dealers still get a certain allotment, and if you're at a dealer that's getting a certain amount of allotment and doesn't have a huge list, or has a huge list and gets a huge allotment, a great number of builds given to them for the model, well, then it's going to go much quicker than a dealer that, disobeyed Ford, because Ford laid it out clear with the Bronco way in advance, several times, many times. They repeated themselves. They talked to dealerships like they're kids. And it was like, email face-to-face, email face-to-face. And it was, do not mark up the Bronco. We're serious. And don't reduce the price. Just make it a fair deal for everyone. Because at the end of the day, competition, if the Broncos get ordered at zero and the dealership's not making money, well, guess what happens when you put an animal in a cage and you starve them? Well, they're going to fight for their life. And that's all that would have happened. If all the Broncos, due to competition and marketing on the internet and Facebook and whatnot, it would have come down to they're all being offered at cost. You can bet bet my beard that those would have showed up with, just craziness. Everyone needs to survive. And that's why, whether in the animal kingdom and especially in with us humans, we need rules. I know a lot of us say we don't like rules and we feel we don't like rules, but remember, we benefit from rules every single day. And I just like them when they make sense. Unlike a speed limit of 100 kilometers an hour that was made for cars that were 6 times more dangerous, and that people would have accidents at half the speed limit and perish. And now having an accident at 100 kilometers an hour, it's not at all what it used to be. But that's a different subject for another day. Marie's here. You're supposed to kick me when I get off topic.
No, but it was interesting, so I let you go on this one.
Oh, okay. So I hope you all feel it's interesting. I want to say thank you so much, Tim Bartz, member for 4 months now. And I appreciate the encouragement, saying that that's great tips. Really happy to see Robin O'Malley here. Ridgeview's here as well. So a lot of the members, from what I'm seeing at a quick glance, the WB is back. Asking if I'm dissing LA buyers. Let's just say I'm not into the whole let's get surgeries to look better and let's, buy the most expensive vehicle just because I need to show up and flex on my neighbor. I think the greatest flex of all is being a good, kind, helpful person. Character is the ultimate flex. And when you've got a lot of character, you don't flex it. You don't run around yelling, I am humble, because that just doesn't make sense. So right back to the show, because I've definitely gone over it. Now, Maverick people, you deserve the news. I said 3 to 5 minutes, and it's probably been 10. I have trouble keeping an eye. It's 7:19, so I need to now move right along. We'll get to questions at the end, so make sure when we get into the Q&A, you start posting them, especially with the little Johnny's Car Care and Review, so that they pop up. Marie's here for that section. And also, if the content got dry, I was going to ask her opinion on the Dodge EV, because Marie is the type of partner that constantly tells me, I'm a bad partner. I'm a bad hubby. I send her photos, be like, hey, what do you think of this Jag? What do you think of a Porsche 718? What do you think of a Porsche 911? Constantly bombarding her with photos. And every time I send her something from GM or Corvette, the answer is always the same. She kind of, I guess, French is different than English, but if we translate it to English, she would be saying that's too redneck. But
the Corvette compared to the Mustang, it's the look. But I know it's a good car, but with the look, we always have Mustangs, so maybe it's just because I'm habitué. What is it in English?
You're habituated to Ford vehicles. But I converted a guy to GM, and I let him drive my Mustang convertible, and he gave it a little juice in the tunnel, and the sound it made, he almost melted. And he actually apologized. He's a mechanic on 18-wheelers. He's been a mechanic on tractors, and he's also been a mechanic, I believe, at GM. But anyways, he said, I'm so sorry. All these years, I've been just going on and on about how the Corvette is absolutely the best. He's like, I love this Mustang, and I think it might be the best, because he said it. It's got handling, it's got acceleration, and it's got incredible sound. Yeah, the first time you heard it, it made you think that our 2018 had been a 4-cylinder. And I was like, no, that was an 8. And she's like, well, I love the sound of this.
Yeah, it looks so different, but no, it's the same, but makes a lot of sound.
So Maverick news. It makes a lot of sound, so does the MR2, but you refuse to get back in the MR2, so we might have to sell that on the channel, because when the wife will not take a ride with you, then what's the point of having the vehicle? And we have these nice vehicles.
Oh, it's fun, but it's a car that you don't go often with it in the road anyway. It's a vintage car, so...
Yeah, Yeah.
It's not for daily drive.
Vintage and beat up. So the Maverick news, I'm so sorry. Y'all been patient, but it's good because before we're at like 20 people in the live and now we're at 78. So this is only bad. This delay is only bad for people not watching this live. And thank you for being here on the live. So here I've got a bone to pick, and this is a big don't be fooled section. Big news flash. You can sue anyone for any reason, and it doesn't need to make sense. So there's the truth. And now let's talk about that truth. Why am I just dropping a truth bomb with no meat?
Interesting.
Here's the meat. There's this whole oil fire Maverick issue going on. So I'm going to scroll down because I'm going to talk about the airbags after. But there is a lawsuit going down for this. And the lawsuit is ignoring some important things. And this is why I really think the lawsuit will not pan out whatsoever, but you can sue for whatever reason. It doesn't have to make sense, and you can actually even win and get money when it doesn't make sense. Like McDonald's cups used to not say caution hot, and someone dropped that into their lap and they burnt their goodies, and they weren't happy about it, so they sued and they got money. And now all these cups say beware hot, basically don't dip your junk in our coffee, which is just ridiculous that we have to put that on a coffee cup, but we do because someone won a lawsuit. But this is a lawsuit I don't see how it could possibly work. In the lawyer's words, it said, Ford's fix is essentially rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, said Steve Berman, Hagens and Berman, co-founder and managing partner. Also quoted as saying, while drivers, their families, and others on the road attend to the real crisis of a potential vehicle fire due to this manufacturing defect, Ford's solution does nothing to address the issue at hand and will mean an unknowable amount of engine fluids will be spilled onto roads, leaching into groundwater and soil. Okay, so if this were accurate, this would be interesting. Unfortunately, everyone's making a big deal about this darn lawsuit, and I'm just going to point out the real deal. Don't be fooled on this one, okay? The lawsuit is in regards to, yes, engine oils that could accumulate in the bottom of the pan. And because of hot temperatures, oil and its vapor can catch fire. Ford's solution. So far you can be like, hey, this lawsuit makes sense. The solution is to remove a lat in the front and drill holes. So then you're like, oh geez, yeah, oil going out into the environment. This isn't a real solution. This isn't fixing the problem at hand. This doesn't seem right. Maybe the lawsuit is justified. Now, here's the real deal. I'll hit you up with some truth. The oil only leaks when you have engine failure. So when your engine fails, this is something that you hear. So this is due to a crankshaft machining problem. It's been corrected, but this crank, not with the new ones being produced, but previously, there was a chance that because of how the crankshaft was being machined, that it could cause engine failure. Then under engine failure, and your engine's going to be making some weird noises when it fails, real weird noises. But if you keep driving, if it doesn't completely fail and bring you to a stop, if you continue driving, then yes, oil is going to be leaking because guess what? Your engine's broken. It's like the seals are blown out. It might even be cracked. So your engine has gone under catastrophic failure. It's now leaking oil, and before your engine stops, because one way to stop an engine is once it has no oil left in it. Well, there's no lubrication and the pistons seize in those cylinders. So when that's happening, gosh, you got to really ignore. This is like putting your head in a microwave and wondering why you're feeling discomfort and pain, or it's like holding a knife and squeezing on it and saying, after the damage is done, being like, oh, that cut me to the bone, I'm suing the knife company. So you should know that when you cut yourself a little, to stop cutting yourself. Well, this is one of those things. When your engine fails, you're unless you're driving under the influence, you're going to know you've got an engine failure. So basically, this lawsuit is treating the situation like all Mavericks, or a huge percentage of them, are just dropping oil, and that these plugs were, drilled into the bottom pan to drop the oil, and the one lat was removed for more air coming in. it's treating it like this is just happening on a daily basis to a certain amount. And that's not the case. This is happening if there's catastrophic engine oil. Now, two things to remember. The crankshaft machining issue is resolved for the new ones that are being built. And this is something that is being done. The recall was done in case your engine fails. And I believe if the numbers are correct, and someone will correct me in the live chat anyways, I believe it was 5 or 7 engine failures thus far. So if you're wondering if your vehicle is affected, you can either contact Ford or NHTSA. You can put in your serial number and it will pop as well. So there's Ford customer service at 1-866-436-7332. FOMOCO recall number 20S73. NHTSA toll free 138, 138, so 888-327-4236, or just right on their website, www.safecar.gov, so if you're Canadian, you're thinking you're going to throw in a U, I guess, maybe. No, sorry, that's, I'm thinking French.
That's in French.
That's in French. You're here to keep me off the French. So we speak French all the time at home. We are a French-speaking family at home because I wanted to be speaking in her native language. I want to accommodate that for her. So a little inside...
But we always listen to the TV in English, so we're hybrid, I guess.
So that's that. And you can save if you got any questions on that, you can just ask me, but I think I've summarized that really well. The Mavericks don't leak oil. We've had one now as a demo. It's been getting used and abused. Towed my four-wheeler, and it has not leaked any oil. There's no oil in that pan underneath. So far, so good. So far, it's going great. There's not any issues at all. And I do want to cover, I was just looking over here in my notes. It was only on hybrids. It's also affecting Corsair, both hybrids, plug-in and regular hybrid. Corsair, Escape, and then on the Maverick, it's just the hybrid. And this doesn't mean you should order an EcoBoost to avoid this. This is engine oil that will leak after major engine failure. Your engine is going to fail and your engine's finished. You'll get a new engine after that. So that's what's going on with that. And so far Ford has received, it's 23 reports of fires or smoke related to this issue globally, but it was about 5 for Mavericks. The 23 are across the Corsair as well as the Escape. There's been no injuries or accidents from this, so it's not as if this is good news. There's 2 ways to do a recall. There's the way where you just ignore the problem and let it build up over years, and then the worst, the really bad, I feel really bad manufacturers ignore the problem, know it exists, let it build up over the years, and just pay the lawsuits and once the government forces them. Now, you have less recalls. Why? Because you're not doing them willingly. Then there's the other manner, the other extreme, being really on top of recalls and really fixing them before there's any real issue that goes down with it. And that's how Ford is. You know, I've been around Ford for a long time. I've watched them very closely, and I can say that Ford is extremely proactive on recalls, and for some reason journalists love it. I guess it's like every recall that comes out, they're on top of it, and there's some media make a big deal about it, but I'd always say, oh good, a recall, what a responsible company. It's doing your recall. It's kind of like doing your homework every night. There's 2 ways you can study. You can do your homework every single night and not have to cram like crazy before the exam, and it looks like you never really put much effort in. Or you can be, cram at the absolute end. And yeah, probably depending on the person and the manufacturer, you can cram it all in at the end and maybe get by. And then you can just not study at all and fail the exam. And that would be, we've seen that with automobile manufacturers. They ignore the problem until, huge issues,
Ignore or try to hide it, so that's not good.
Deaths, maiming, people with, losing function of certain parts of their body. So that brings me to the Airbag Recall. So Ford is very on top of recalls, and this time though it is actually NHTSA that tested the Maverick and the side curtains airbags. So those are the airbags that if you're driving, you got one kind of here for driver and the people in the back, second row, and you've got one on the right side, of course. Now, a lot of people are calling this, well, media. I'm not going to say my people, but media people, kind of my people. So media is generally covering this as a big fail. They're using in the title fail, airbag fail, Ford fail. I don't see this as a Ford fail. First of all, what's the problem? The airbags aren't failing. They're overinflating. So when tested, and I can get to the exact numbers, I'm not wearing my glasses. I do wear glasses. In the lives, you get a lot more personal info. Sorry about that if this is getting on your nerves. It's part of the live process because I need to keep talking while I search. So the displacement results when the airbags were tested and went off is that they went off at 111.9 millimeter, which exceeds the federal regulation of 100 millimeters. And when Ford had tested it back in December 2020, the displacement was 82.5 to 88.4, so well in the means. Ford's own acceptance criteria is 93.1. Now, Ford didn't make these airbags. This isn't based on covering anything up or misintention. Ford in December 2020 tested airbags, said, hey, they pass. So what did they do? They tell their supplier, hey, they pass. Bring them on in. Keep them coming. We'll take all you can send us. We want to build these Mavericks and we want to build as many as we possibly can. So dump in the parts. So the airbags are generally it's from another supplier. And really there's basically 3 suppliers worldwide, globally, for airbags. And every manufacturer basically has had issues with airbags. Now, 2 ways of dealing with things. You can wait until there's actually accidents, real injuries, and then the government kind of forces in change, or legitimate lawsuits force change. Or in this case, Ford right off is just like, okay, let's cause ourselves problems to fix this. Let's hurt ourselves in regards to marketing. So I said at the beginning of the video that I talk about why some of your Mavericks are delayed, and this is a major cause. So as of July 9th, they're getting the right airbags into the newly produced vehicles, from my understanding. But basically, once this was discovered in early July, they basically just continued to produce vehicles, and these Mavericks can the factory's still moving, but they're holding back the Mavericks. So a lot of people are getting, delays of, a lot of actually delays by basically 3 or 4 weeks. Now, I highly, highly suspect that this is because Ford is going to build your Maverick and they're going to go, well, when the airbags come in, the correct specification airbags come in, we'll throw them in. Now, some media is saying basically that the airbags, it's a fail, they don't work. That's not the case. From recollection, one media source was saying that you could roll out of the vehicle if your airbag overinflates by a whopping, basically will round up 12 millimeters more than what is allowable by NHTSA. 12 millimeters of overinflation still means it inflated. I don't call that a fail. I'd call that, I don't know, it's overinflating. It's not a fail. It just doesn't fall into the criteria. So those 12 millimeters just means that airbag is coming out a little bit more, could hit you it's going to hit you a little bit more. Not the end of the world. Not a reason to say, for example, you'll have some people commenting like, thank goodness my Maverick isn't built yet, or, I'm upset my Maverick was built before this was found and now I've got a problem now. I wouldn't worry about it. It's just overinflating. I'm not going to get 1 million or 200,000-300,000 or a few million views on this because I refuse to have a title that says don't buy a Ford Maverick.
Airbag
because
doesn't work.
Yeah, don't buy a Ford Maverick. Huge fail or major failure, or or extremely dangerous. That's not the type of work I want to put out into the world. I want to be about helping. And if this was a major issue, well, I'd say it. But I'm not an airbag compliance specialist, but I understand the millimeter system because I'm Canadian. And I can tell you 12 millimeters is not like 12 inches. 12 inches, yeah, I'd be pretty worried. Your head would be, in the back seat. But 12 millimeters, Marie, that's nothing, right?
No, that's not that bad. It's not like it's like that. It's only 1 centimeter.
Yeah.
In United States, I know that you are talking more about an inch.
I think you need about 2.5 centimeters to make 1 inch.
Yeah. So it's like not
Not quite
less than
a
half.
Yeah,
Of an inch, yeah.
not quite a third
a third.
of an inch of overinflation. Still works, not a fail. That's that. And it's affecting vehicles. It's 64,952. All the media sources rounded up to 65 because, why do the exact work of getting the numbers correct? Because, if you're in media, why take yourself seriously and, do a good job when you can just do a fast job? I'm live and I'm going to get these numbers right. So it's 64,974. And it's Mavericks built between February 3rd, 2021 to July 9th, 2022. And for the ones that, they learned about this basically the 9th or just before. So you see the ones built after the 9th are either getting the right airbags, which I would doubt the right parts would come in just that quickly. What I would think is, you've got transport. And what's transport going to cause? It's going to cause a month delay. And why are you delayed by a month and now, apparently getting built at the end of August when you're supposed to be at the end of July? I'd definitely say that it's most certainly because of this airbag. But good news, you're going to get your Maverick with the correct airbag. You're not going to lose a day. You're not going to lose your Maverick to the dealership for who knows, 1 day, 2 days, whatever number of days, because you're already hunky-dory. And I wouldn't, if I have a Maverick, I wouldn't just park it, or like one media source said, it's okay, your main device for safety is your seatbelt, so just buckle up and don't worry if your airbags go off. No, your airbags are going to go off. Big media, you're big media. Do your job, be responsible, say things right. And I say this, but I should probably be roasted the most. And actually, I think I already have possibly been roasted because one channel's major pet peeve is when people say Hyundai incorrectly. So that was their big pet peeve. And I wasn't sure if it was aimed at me or not, but I definitely fell in the category of, breaking sacred journalist rules of pronouncing foreign companies apparently correctly when if you're in their own language, we're always saying it wrong anyways. So I think I'll put my effort somewhere else. But I was saying Hyundai because I thought it sounded really cool. But anyways, that's just me, and that's my lame old me. I have trouble pronouncing things. I speak 2 languages, but fluently. Wow, no, actually, let's just say I speak 2 languages obviously poorly. Now, Marie's English is great.
No, it's not poor at all. You're good. You're better than me.
I think you're great, and we all love your accent. So,
big accent.
We've covered 1 Maverick recall. We covered 2 Maverick recalls, and I think we can conclude that don't be fooled. Maverick, this doesn't change anything about the Maverick. So far, the Maverick is still a fantastic vehicle. It's still fantastically priced. Yes, the price has gone up, but is it going up by more than inflation? No. None of the Fords are going up by more than inflation, except I haven't done the exact math on the Lightning. It might have gone up by a little bit more than inflation, but let's just blame battery suppliers and providers for that because, well, for whatever reason, the batteries are costing a fortune more. You look at the Mach-E, or Mackie, however you want to pronounce it, overall cost went up $24,000. And is it going up by $24,000? I really absolutely think not. So Ford's going to be taking a hit on that so that we can still get Mach-E's, and I don't think they're going to play the game that many manufacturers have been doing. That's that they come out with something cool and electric and they build next to none. So there's, 3 to 5 year wait times on it. And speaking of which, just this week I was looking at the new mid-engine Corvette. And the mid-engine Corvette, I was talking to an inside source, and I'm going to admit it, I really like the idea of the mid-engine Corvette, and if I could order one and get one in 2 years, it was in the thought process. But I was told, no, we don't take orders anymore because it's at least 5 years. But I can tell you in Canada, now that production has gone out overseas and they're selling them overseas, a lot of that is at the cost of Canadian production apparently, so I cannot tell you what's going on in the States. I'm going to assume it's at least 2 years, but if it's like Canada, it's now at, basically they're just going, no, hopeless, don't give us your order. But, here's a used with 20-some thousand kilometers, 2 years old, Corvette, still the mid-engine, the new model. It was sitting at 128,000 Canadian, and it's supposed to be original price of about, back then was like 73. So I'm no mathematician, but I'd say that's wild. So when we all get hung up on, over markup, I know over markup is bugging me, but an extra 5 on a Maverick that's in inventory doesn't quite bother me as much as, 60,000 more on a 2-year-old Corvette. 2 years old, $60,000. It's a Corvette. And even if it was a Ferrari, it wouldn't change much because Corvette, Ferrari. But then again, I've got a 2022 Mustang GT convertible, and it's a go anywhere, super, just the right amount of loudness, but super fast machine. And my oil changes cost me $80. So thank you, Ford, for making that wonderful vehicle. We absolutely love it.
I just need to say thank you because Brian and RR Way Right just said that my accent is awesome and that I have an elegant hairstyle. So thank you so much, guys.
That's awesome.
That's so kind of you.
that is cool. Thank you for the encouragement, because often on the show she's almost like she's like not sure if she'll come on because she's like, oh, but my hair isn't right, and but
don't speak that much in English.
And it's cool. The encouragement will keep bringing her back. So what saved Ford? This is going to be a quick one. And I know when I say that, it usually means it's going to be a long one. But this is going to be a quick one. What saved Ford? Aluminum. The F-150. Both. The F-150 aluminum. Together, they saved Ford. There's a few other things that saved Ford that I'll get to in just a moment. But let's just talk about this briefly. Since Ford went aluminum on the F-150, well, it's been the most sold vehicle for many years now. Most sold vehicle in North America. So that's, that means it's outselling the Honda Civic. But the most sold vehicle for a number of years. It's been the most sold truck for decades, and 50-some, maybe now even basically since it came on the market in Canada, but 40-some years in the States. It saved Ford, but Ford's always worked to try to keep that truck not just up to date, but ahead. And aluminum definitely does keep it ahead. Here are the benefits, and then we'll talk about a side story that makes me chuckle. But the benefits: it doesn't rust. It saves almost 20% of the weight of the vehicle, about 750 pounds. And I say about because there's different configurations, about almost 750 pounds on a crew cab with 6.5-foot bed. So what does that mean? Better fuel economy, less wear and tear on the suspension and brakes. It's lighter, so you can put more on it. Your charge, your payload. Charge is the French word. Your charge, your payload goes up. It's only benefits. Except for cost. But even though it increased the price of the cost, you look 2014 F-150, in Canadian dollars, you go to the 2015, and basically the price went up $7,000. The cost of manufacturing went up. But boy, is this ever worth it. Because one, you're encouraged and happy to keep the truck for a really long time. Or you just have great resale. Now, speaking of resale, Just saw 2016 Canyon. I don't have the photos in front of me in my memory. But anyways, believe it was a Canyon diesel. Fantastic idea on the diesel. Great fuel economy. Probably maybe a little hard on the environment in reality as opposed to on paper numbers. But great for your pocketbook in regards to fuel economy. And diesels are just cool. So cool, but 2016, under 60,000 miles, and the whole bottom of the vehicle need to be repainted, like all along the bottom of the vehicle, not just the wheel wells, the cab, and the cab was protected by running boards from memory, and just the same, all along the cab, even going in underneath where the rocks couldn't possibly hit. This was just rust, and you can look at $3,000 to repaint that properly, and then it's repainted. It never has the same value. And then you look at a 2016 F-150, and the paint is awesome. So that saved Ford. It's good for the reputation. It's good for the resale value. And Ford does make money with the F-150. And right now, basically, the F-150 is going to be basically funding the whole EV project. But that's another thing that saved Ford. Ford, instead of spending, hundreds of millions, if not low billions per year in trying to convince you that their product is great, they're just working on making their product great. So what are examples of that? The Mach-E EV, future EV products to come. This isn't a profitable venture, but Ford's doing it, and it's its own marketing for the brand. And here's, you can't have a brand that just says, we'll only sell to our loyal customers, because your fan base, your loyal customers with time do diminish, because you'll never produce 100,000 or 900,000 F-150s and have all 900,000 be spot on perfect. And that doesn't matter. You can have, my ex-sister-in-law had a Corolla and the transmission went on it at like 70,000 kilometers, about 40,000 miles. That's ridiculous. But it happened. And is it the general problem? No. But, totally sold Toyota. Part of the cult, so it was like, whatever, still buying Toyota no matter what happens. But anywho, you lose people over time. So what's going on? The Mach-E brings in 70% new people to Ford. So people who don't have Fords, some of them have never even had a Ford. Some of them had a Ford in the past, but had a bad experience, and now they're coming back to Ford. 70% of Mach-E sales are, non-Ford people. So that's bringing in new blood. The Maverick has also saved Ford. So I don't know why you get these media sources being like, huge fail in the Maverick, don't buy, end of days type stuff, the sky is falling silliness. And crud, I was going to say, but I don't like, anyways. It's not, we talked about this, not big deals. Just because there's a lawsuit doesn't mean that there's a real issue at hand. There's only a real issue if, you're unbelievably, out of 64, almost 65,000 people, there's been 5 or 7 Mavericks that had either fumes or fire. So 5 to 7 engine failures. That's an extremely low number. And like Tim Bart said in his video the other night, do the math and you have a good idea of what's been built since the dates I shared earlier, February 3rd, 2021 to July 9th, 2022. So across that time period, divided by the number of months, and roughly how many Fords actually building, because they're recalling all the Mavericks. So that's actually a pretty interesting topic on its own. But Maverick's bringing in a lot of people from basically everything new at Ford is saving Ford. So the Maverick's bringing in new people in the 60th percentile. The Bronco's bringing in people from other brands in the 60th percentile. I wonder what percentage is coming from Jeep. All I know is locally, in 8 years, I had maybe seen one Jeep trade-in on the lot. And recently, it seems like it's 2 or 3 every month. So very interesting rate there. I'd love to know the percentage. So that's what's saving Ford, these new models that they've invested in, and the new models actually being relatively anywhere from, the Bronco is absolutely fantastic. I'm picky and a perfectionist, and my Bronco bolt, they didn't come perfect. The back tailgates missed a little paint. The first one had a tie wrap for to hold the windshield washer fluid. One had a little bit of extra paint, two extra thick paint spots on the hood, and other little things. But anyways, I can't remember everything. But anyways, normally I would freak out. If this was a Mustang, I'd be like, oh, it bugged me too much. But the Bronco is so amazing that I'm like, don't care, totally worth it. Do it all over again. We'll do it again. We'll do it many more times. The Bronco is actually really incredible. And by the way, the Bronco, I just put WeatherTech mud guards up in the front, just the front. This in no way is a paid promotion. WeatherTech is giving me absolutely no money to talk about it, but I like them and they are effective. My doors are staying cleaner and the tires aren't kicking up rocks and mud onto the doors. So nice little success there. Mm-hmm. So I think that covers everything. We are now going into Q&A.
Mm-hmm. First thing, it's not a question, is our friend Cuz, he was talking about that, I guess it was the last live that we done. He said he had his recall done last week on the Maverick Hybrid. So far, he didn't think it impacts the miles per gallon, because we were talking about that in the last live or the one before?
A couple lives. We even talked about this. This popped up in the show basically right when the recall had come out and we were discussing it. So I don't know if that was a month ago about.
Mm-hmm.
About a month ago.
So for now, no change. So maybe that wasn't that bad before the recall. So that's a good thing.
And who dropped that comment?
Cuz.
Cuz, thank you so much, Cuz. That's
Thank you.
Fantastic information that you're bringing to the channel. And I've, from day one, have said that, I'm trying to create a community here where we help each other out. And, we all try to stay level-headed and look at the data and, not get swayed by big media. Just read what big media has to say and then say, okay, well, what's the data? Or let's think about this. How is this a big deal? Maybe people are saying it's a small deal and maybe it is a big deal. So just basically that we would try to look at things objectively and remove emotion and dollars from the statements that we make. So that's an awesome example of, basically a subscriber really working to make this a quality community. No one will ever have the right answers. I'm going to get things wrong at times, or I'm going to take, my opinion or emotion might sneak into something I say, and that's not the goal. So we need to all be here for each other, keep it real.
Perfect. And at the beginning of the chat, we had a question from Christopher. It was asking if we know when they will show the 2023 Dodge Ram, when they will got it. Do you know, do you have information about that?
The 2023 Dodge Ram?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure what the exact date is going to be for that, but I have signed on to be media. I signed up for the whole basically admit that your media credentials with Dodge, so I can stay on top of the EV stories, because I am looking forward to so far the Charger EV. I'd almost not call that a prototype, because usually to me prototype means it looks really cool and it's not going to be anything like this when it comes to production. But I'd say the production of this Charger is actually going to be very, very similar, because they're making statements. They're like, it will have this wing, it will have this electric exhaust note, trumpet style. You take a sound from the electric motor and bring it down, slice it down at the end so it makes an interesting sound, whether you like it or not. I just hope that there's an option to turn it off. I know a lot of EV owners like the whole silent swift ninja sound that an EV makes. It's like a ninja, just deadly and fast, but without a sound. So hopefully they'll have an on-off button for that.
Perfect. And another question that we saw, it was already answered in the chat, but Robin was asking if it was flamingo in your shirt, so it makes me laugh.
I like
Yeah.
a flamingo. I don't know why.
I love that shirt. That's a good one. He picked it by himself.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, by myself. Thanks, Mom, for letting me pick out my own clothes.
No help. You're good. We didn't have that much question tonight, so if you have any other question, please leave it in the chat. And Review is asking right now, any word on Mary's Maverick build time frame? Nope, no news yet.
Yeah.
Still waiting.
I'll be open and honest. You know what? We're going to do a little 10-minute members only live right when we wrap this up, which is basically going to be in the next minute or two. But we will do a members only live, so we'll give you a little bit of updates on that, a little bit of what's been going on around here with we'll share what's going on with this part of the JCCR crew and, the JCCR crew members. Well, you guys can share with what's going on your end as well, or you can ask us, really... really any question. It can be personal, and it can also be really auto industry related. And if I have anything that I don't feel that I really want to share broadly and publicly, like certain speculations or whatnot, that's also the place where things might come out a little earlier than here. So I'll share a bit of that just in a moment. So I really want to say thank you. Well, do we have another one?
Yeah, we have a few questions that came up after I said that. Paul was asking, what's your guess if I order a 2023 Maverick Hybrid XLT Lux when order books opens? When do you think I will get it?
Well, I'm not going to say when order banks are going to open up to new orders, because I do have that speculation that the 15th we might find out that, hey, you know what, it worked really well for the Bronco and the Lightning to really just allow the whole computer system to focus in on old orders and place them and get them built. I suspect that this will happen with the Maverick, because I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great idea on Ford's part, and I applaud them for this. Because it's going to hurt them in regards to, you could say marketing points, brownie points, but with the public. So, with our wives and our husbands out there, I think we all work on sort of a brownie points system. We might not call it brownie points, who knows? You can comment what you call it, but I call them brownie points. And it hurts them in the brownie points department in regards to marketing, but it will, because a whole lot of people get frustrated, but it's going to help out, really help out a very small number of people. And that's sort of the basis for in life, often doing the right thing means a whole lot of people don't like what you're doing, and you're actually only actually helping very few people, whereas often, oddly these days, doing what you could say is wrong and not helpful is actually really liked by a whole lot of people. For example, taking being really, really wealthy and taking a jet ride, constantly jetting around everywhere and posting it on Instagram. Well, people love that crap, and it's ridiculous. It's bad for, really, really bad for the environment, because in reality, a few, the whatever it is, 1,200 billionaires on the globe will probably pollute more so than the billions of people living on the globe. So, hey, I use the word billionaires and criticize them, so next video, 100 views. Well, I'll laugh if that's the case. I do this channel out of heart and not finances, but the members do. It is nice having the members on board. It's encouraging.
Yes, and here we have an interesting suggestion for you from the WB. Would be great if you have a guest appearance by a Ford media person to participate in one live stream. Oh, could be something to try to do that.
That would be cool. I don't know if I have that kind of pull or sway, or if the channel is.
Or if you will be able to share screen because you're not good at informatic.
Let's throw the invitation out. If you're a Ford media person and you'd like to come on the show, invite me to yours, because I bet you know how to use the technology and do double screen. No, I think if I go with StreamYard, I've used StreamYard before going on to other people's shows, so I bet if I don't just use this YouTube live, because here obviously this is new to me, but great idea, and thank you, very kind.
Okay, another one.
Oh, we have a new member.
A new member, Joshua Coulee. Hi, Joshua.
Hey, Joshua.
Thank you.
Kelly, thank you so much. Really enjoy the support through the membership. It is actually helpful because, hey, sometimes I spend 4 to 8 hours making a video and it gets, 350 views, which means like maybe 30 cents. So it is nice. It is nice. The membership does help support and help really grow the channel to more videos
and because sometimes
different
we
type of
broke
content.
stuff on the car too.
Sometimes
While filming.
Yeah, we've broken stuff on the car, we've broken stuff on the drone, and we've also even broken things in the office. And I've even broken a phone that I was filming with. So, but that was $400 out the door. But it's all fun and games because we enjoy doing this.
Okay, a question from IR Ray Wright, sorry for the pronunciation tonight. Johnny, why don't you build a factory 5 car of your choice? That's a good one.
That is an awesome one. It would be a Cobra, late 60s Cobra. I have a good idea. I'd want to fit in a new 5-liter crate engine in there. That would be about $20,000. Actually, maybe a little less because parts, no labor. But here's the problem, the labor. I don't like to do mechanics on my own because I don't have the confidence going in. So I like to do that with people, actual mechanics, because otherwise I'm likely going to get hurt, break something, or spend 10 times more time doing it than I should. So that's I would say the big one. It's time. For when I retire, I will very much be willing to work on a project on my own. But for the meantime, with the channel takes up all my remaining free time, and I love it. Gets on her nerves sometimes a little because I do try to get back to as many comments as possible. That's why I'm loving these lives. We can just we can just talk directly to each other, which is I find the best.
Yeah, the lives is good. We have another question here from Brian. Do you know how long they will build the 2022s? Will it be as long as December or could it be into 2023?
Okay, so I'm looking at my list and I don't see any of the models continuing to be built. Current 2022 models currently being built in 23. The big ones, you could say. And now these dates, I pulled them out a little while ago, and I know one of them's wrong. It's telling me order bank open date for the Bronco. I have here the 15th of August, and that's not right. The actual date now should actually be August 29th. And then job one. Job one means when they actually start building the 23s. So that goes out to the 31st of October. Bronco Sport. Well, it's the 14th of November, which means the Maverick, the Maverick is going to be, I thought it was the 15th for the Maverick, so I'm going to look right down here. Oh, the 14th of November for the Maverick. For some reason in my head, I had the 15th. But then again, on this list, it says that the Maverick opens August 15th, so it's not updated to the new September 15th date. But then the job one date seems to be pretty much at the right time, November. So no, there won't be any vehicles that transfer over. And the Bronco, Bronco, I have October 31st. I guess that one didn't go into November. My memory's fuzzy. I thought all these models had gone into into November, but I've got the 31st here. Now the Lightning, that's one that interests me because I'll get built as a 2023. I gladly had some people pass ahead of me because I was a night one reservation, but I had people pass ahead of me because we've been unbelievably blessed with fantastic Ford products that we love. Maverick, we've been waiting a while. That's okay. But the Lightning here, it is the 10th of October for job one. So they're going to start building 2023 Lightnings right there. So how long do I think if you order an XLT Maverick Lux? It depends when they're actually going to start accepting new orders. But so let's just talk months. Gosh, I think you're probably looking at playing around a year. And it's hard to say because I do suspect the microchip issue is going to get better. Because originally Jim Farley, quite a while back, was saying end of 2022, and now he's talking about early 2023. And if it does get better in early 2023, this could really start helping production to ramp up. And if so, 12 months, 12 to 14 months might actually only end up being 7 or 8 months. So that's what's hard to judge. And of course, if things heat up on the global scale, if things heat up and there's another war that starts to go down, or the current war becomes worse, if things change in regards to the plastic we can get, we might see longer. But I'm going to be hopeful and really hope that things stay the same or get better. If they stay the same, I suspect really lucky, you're at 10 months. Unlucky, 14 or 15 months at a dealership that took way too many Maverick orders, way more than their allotments, because the allotments, it's a system that makes sense. They're given out based on historical data and also current orders that are in the system. But just because a dealership drew in a whole bunch of people offering an extra $1,000 rebate doesn't mean, that they'll now get 5 times or 10 times more allotments than they would have. And that's where a lot of the problems, most of the Bronco problems happened. And if we're lucky, things will get better on the Maverick, and delay times, you could say, could get 30-40% better, and heck, they could even cut back by half. So I'll keep you on top of that story, my promise.
Good. Mark is asking, we know the chance of engine failure in thesis minimal. Would you expect there are warning signs that might be affect, or would it just be sudden?
Crank.
Could depend.
Geez, crank on the crankshaft. No, I don't know. I don't think it's just gonna instantly catch fire. You're definitely gonna hear some really bad noises in advance, but once you start hearing those noises, is it too late?
Need to stop as soon as possible.
But
Yes.
even at that, you stop as soon as possible, and what will your repair be? If there's no damage, they throw in a new crankshaft when they find out that your crank is bad, or they just replace the whole motor. And actually, they might even replace the whole motor either way. So I guess it's for me, it's a bit of a, could say, I wouldn't call it a non-issue. It's definitely an issue, but the result is not something that worries me, because once it starts making noise, I don't know if the check engine light will come on, and if it does, then I definitely would pull over and call towing. Actually, call roadside assistance, so they bring you to the nearest Ford. But I don't know what the result is going to be, and I don't know if that check engine light will come on early enough to actually avoid damage. I would think as soon as you start hearing a noise, I'd hope the check engine comes on, but generally once we notice the noise, the damage could be done. So I guess we'll find out. That's one where we just need more information to say, really. I can't even speculate. It's a total lack of having enough information to even speculate.
Perfect. Another question from David. Reordering in September 15 from order October 21 XLT with all constraint. What is foreseeing how much time it will take for builds? Much frustration. Yeah, I guess that's all pre-order are not giving priority, and why?
Yeah, okay. So fantastic question, and I'm going to end on this question. Ford is giving priority based on date. However, the end result is, we've all seen it. Some get pushed ahead of us, and actually a lot can surpass us. Let me explain how this works. If in a month the factory can build, and I don't have the exact numbers, but it depends on the month, but let's say in a month they have the capacity to build 7,000 Ford Mavericks. That's a certain amount per day. Well, they plan these out in advance, and the problem is they know what they're going to have, what they should have at factory based on each and every single day. So when it comes time, they try to pass your order and they're like, oh, can't be built here, can't be built here, can't be built here. And you said it well, you have all constraints. So there's going to be a whole lot of, oh, but we're missing this part on this day. Oh, but we're missing that part on this day. Oh, we're missing all the constraints on all these days. So basically, they want to build yours. They want to build ours. But then they go, but we can't because we can't finish the entire build. You know, we're missing a battery for those days. We're missing the heated seats or heated steering wheel for those days. The heated mirrors. So instead of the factory instead of building 7,000, which is the number they can build, well, then they build, they're not just going to sit and make 2,000 that month or only work for one week out of the 4 weeks of the month. They're still going to build 7,000 so that generally more people are happy and do get Mavericks. But here's the thing. Sometimes you're not getting built because you have a whole bunch of constraints, and then someone with less constraints gets built ahead of you. But yeah, that does end up using material that could have gone into yours. But it's kind of going with, it's like being in one of those situations where all the options are bad, but you're going with the least bad option. Like in an operating room. Let's say you're in an ER room or you're in the ER room. Everyone in the ER room is hurting. But you kind of go with, okay, well, what can we deal with? First of all, who's the worst off and can we fix them? Because, if you're a first responder, for example, you go into a situation, your first thing is assess. And someone can be real hurt bad, but you're like, we can't do anything for them. So we could waste all our supplies and all our time and energy on the one person who needs like more than we can even give them. But the end result is we're not going to help them out. Nothing's going to happen. Well, the factory's kind of like that. It's like, well, we could save these resources for these really tough builds, but then the factory is still not going to move. Nothing's going to happen, and the total amount of Mavericks that they produce is going to drastically go down. Now, that has absolutely been the case for the Bronco, because you do see Broncos. It's like frustrating. It's like, man, read on my thumbnail, a wild track Broncos. That means it's got a 2.7 liter. That's a constraint. It's got a hard top. That's a constraint. It's got a Sasquatch. That's a constraint. And then it gets built. And that's because that's a multitude of factors. There's date, but then there's also regional distribution. So it's complicated. It's hard to understand, but believe you me, Ford wants to build the oldest dates. And the proof of that, if you're just like, Johnny's just a Ford fanboy, so he'll just always stick up for them. Well, no, I'm still basing this on facts. And I look at the intentions as well. No, I don't just look at the results, because if you look at the results, yeah, I'd just purely be frustrated. But I'm looking also not just at the intentions, I'm looking at the actions. And the actions Ford has done, and they've, how do I say this? Upset quite a few people when for the Bronco, they're like, we're not taking new orders. We're just focusing in on the old ones. Well, that's an action that shows Ford wants to get your Bronco built, because they're all these new clients they could be taking in and kind of locking them in, waiting for their Ford. They're like, nope, we're going to upset this many people to produce Broncos for this many people. And that's, I think, that's good behavior, noble behavior, ethical. Well, I think that's taking actions based on, a good sense of fairness and justice. So they're doing that. They've upset a whole lot of people, but they're focusing in on our orders. And then they're only going to send to, if a dealer, everyone on that dealer list, they're at the point where they owe some Broncos to that dealer, but everyone cannot be built. Then they're going to be like, okay, well, let's go through the parts bin and give them what we have way too much of, what we can either very easily get or we have way too much of. So you're going to start seeing, inventory of Broncos on lots, and they're going to be basic. They'll call them basic babes, basic Broncos.
Perfect. And another good question, it makes talk a lot on the chat from C. Miller. Johnny, how does the dealer lock in the rates now? I asked my salesman and he said he wasn't sure if they could do that. I know there's a way, but I can't remember.
Okay, that's going to be model by model. There will be some variations, and I'll be keeping everyone updated because right now we're still, it's what kind of wild to say, but we're still a little early in the game. I can tell you for the Lightning, right now, if you have a reservation from 2021, you're not locked in at the prices you've seen. You're going to pay the price when you go in to do sort of like you could say your final certification and final order. When you do your final COVP, if the dealer knows what they're doing. So if your dealer doesn't know what you're doing and they don't know in your area, you know, say you call Long MacArthur and say you're a Tim Bart's fan and follower, and they'll hook you up. So it's going to be model by model, and it's also going to be different between Canada and the US, because remember how I took my Lightning and I let people go ahead in front of me because I was double blessed in the Bronco department. I switched my order to a very buildable one way early on, which got me built. And then back then I saw people who wanted a hard top get their hard tops like 6-7 months later or more. But I mean 6-7 months for people that had ordered basically right at the same time. Actually, who had ordered 6 months before me, had their reservation 6 months before me is the correct term. So pushed people ahead on my Lightning, but then I can't get a price protection. So the decision I made, because I felt it was the right thing to do, is going to cost me about $11,000. And I'm still okay with that. There's no frustration. I did the right thing, and it doesn't matter if it costs me $11,000. But I'm not getting price protected. But in the States, people who should have been built because they're within the 2022 build allotments for that dealership. So if the dealership was getting 10 and they're number 8, 9, or 10, and for whatever reason they said, you know what, don't build me now because, you know, I can't have my build. You know, I'm number 9 and the people before me took that dealership's allotments of XLTs, but I really want an XLT or a Pro. Well, then you got pushed into a 2023, and people who get pushed are protected, but not in Canada. So I'll have to find out when I know more in regards to the Maverick, and I'll keep you all updated model by model when I do sort of like the general, this is what's going on with this vehicle. But it's going to be, there might be some differences between Canada and the US. What I can say is the main thing, I'm happy if I can buy at the current internet price with no dealer fees and, you know, no markup on the MSRP and the current interest rate offered on the internet when my vehicle comes in. I'm totally okay with that. Currently, anyone who's getting a 2022 Maverick or a 2022 Bronco should be able to price protect. And that's what I've been saying all along, and it should be the case. But I just don't know what's going to happen for the ones up and coming. I'm feeling in the United States, the Bronco will probably will have a mail-in rebate because a lot of dealerships don't know how, don't want to, for whatever reason, are having trouble with the Price Protect program. So Ford, very proactive. Again, really good action on their part. They're going, you know what? We'll just email the rebates, these special offers to clients, like for the Maverick and the Bronco, and they're gonna match the price increase. So that's awesome on Ford's part. But yeah, regionally in Canada things are going to be a little different. So I won't get too much into that. Had said that was the last question. I had also promised you that we would wrap this up for 8, and it is currently 21 minutes over. And I do like the show to be sort of in a time frame that is palatable for people watching this after. So this is why I want to do a live stream every week. I don't want to do a 2-hour live stream where it's hard to watch the whole thing, or you have to watch it, in little 10-15 minute sections over the entire week. I find that tough. It's not my style. It's not how I ideally like to watch them. So I ideally want to keep these to 30 to 45 minutes, and then just do them every single week. So keep your questions for next week, please. We'll be back on Friday unless something happens, unless something else in the house breaks. So see you in we'll do a little 5 to 10 minutes wrap up in the members only live. So just stay tuned while I try to work out the technology. Thank you so much for watching. I do wish you more cars and more power, that you get that car you've ordered real soon. And if it's your thing, I hope you get to put the pedal to the metal real soon. Take care and have a fantastic weekend.
And a special thanks to Adam Weber, who says hit the like button. So thank you so much for your help in the chat.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ridgeview, thank you for being a fantastic moderator, as always. Thank you for all the members being here tonight, and see you in the member only live in just a moment. Take care. Thanks, hon.